We're pleased to be joined by Yong Zhao, a professor, author, and researcher, to discuss a bit about education and how we can help shape it to better serve our youth. I want to start first by thanking you for taking the time and speaking with us today.
Well, thank you, Brandon. It's good to be here.
Yeah, and the pleasure's all ours. I want to start kind of on standardized testing. I think that's something that's always important to the conversation. I'm curious kind of where you fall on, many people feel like it can exacerbate inequalities, maybe favor like specific groups. Others think it's necessary to make sure you're at the level to move on. Where do you fall in the conversation and what are your reasons for that?
Well, I've written quite a lot about standardized testing. Also, I have experienced probably the most extreme form of standardized testing in China, in my own education. And I definitely am not a fan of any standardized testing. That's especially true today in the age of AI. Standardized testing, first of all, you test the same kind of content for everybody. It forces all students to meet the same benchmark. It doesn't capitalize on individual strength, on individual passions. And then second thing, standardized testing has brought in, some disastrous outcomes in the US. It doesn't really measure anything that matters. And even look at our students today. You are dealing with special ed students. You have students who come from disadvantaged families for all sorts of reasons. They would be not as good as the advanced or advantaged families kids, and so these kids are put into remediation, special education, in essence, disadvantage a lot of the students. And then, of course, standardized testing forces teachers, schools to focus on what is being tested. So education, in many ways, has been degenerated, not as education, but as test preparation. And testing preparation, again, for this age, is way outdated. And finally, if you look at today, what really matters for everybody is to become great in their own way, to be unique. You need a personalized learning, to be creative, to be entrepreneurial, to be passionate, to be curious. And that is, the kind of things we need. And of course, standardized testing, directs our attention to test scores, not to student capabilities. And test scores do not reflect what students can do, what students are willing to do. And of course, in this country, in the US now, we have misdirected even parents' attention to real education. Now they look at test scores. They don't look at what children really have.
So I'm curious too, because with standardized testing, kind of what I've noticed is it becomes more so about just the testing itself, doing well on the testing, rather than making sure like the students have like these abilities, these like experiences, the things that could help them as they get older. What do you think the purpose of education should be? Like absent, like obviously, if we were to maybe make these testings more individualized, more for that, and we're not focusing just on pushing like structure and scores, like what should the sort of goal for education be?
Well, there are many different versions, depending on who you ask. You have the political reasons for schools, you have economical reasons for schools, but from an educational perspective, ultimately, I think good schools, good education should lead to more enhanced human beings, wise human beings. They can make independent decisions. They can tell truth from falsehood. They can create new possibilities, especially today with all kinds of technology. They care about their neighbors. They care about neighbors on the planet, not only their neighbors in their local community. And they can offer their unique capabilities to other people to create value for others. So to construct a more equal society requires a lot of caring people. And a lot of caring people are not only there for competition, but for collaboration. So I think the outcome is a better human being. If we have a better human being out of school, we should be very happy. And that better human being cannot be measured by standardized tests.
And I know education is multifaceted, especially if we're talking about like what you're describing here. I am curious though if and if you know you could give a couple, if not one, but what is the or some of the more crucial things that a school can do to kind of meet a student where it's at and make sure that everyone's given the tools they need?
Well, I think it's very difficult for schools to do anything because schools have been very politicized. Why you run school certain ways is political. What curriculum is taught is, and how is it assessed is political, and it's political decisions. But if schools want to do something, I think they should give students more autonomy. Today's children are much more informed than 100, 200 years ago. And the students, every human being wants to be purposeful, wants to do meaningful things for others. So if you give students more autonomy, so allow them to construct a different kind of education instead of just listening or copying textbooks and trying to prepare for testing, they should have place, have a system that allows them to grow, allows them to try out, allows them to test. But also important is schools could create, more authentic things. Students should be engaged in doing authentic projects, solving authentic problems for others, and trying to say how and if their care about others matters. We have so many problems today that I think every child may be interested in identifying problems and solve them, and solve them in collaboration with their friends from far away, with their friends in the same place. And also I think schools should engage students in thinking about not just about future jobs, but about them as a member of a society, a member of a group. What do they want to do? Who they want to become? But also, as children come to school, they are developing their own identity. They are, seeking to know who they are. I think schools could also provide opportunities for students to learn about themselves, to understand the me, me, but understanding me must be through we. You cannot understand yourself. So I think there are a lot of things, but the most important, I think, providing authentic opportunities and that gives students more autonomy so they can self-determine what they would like to do and try out new possibilities.
And what role in all of this do you see AI playing with how it could shape, I'm sure, well, it'll shape the workforce definitely, but also the teacher's experience, it'll shape the student's experience. I already see being in a school, you see students using like, they have like apps now where they can take a picture of the question and it'll give them the answer. So even things like that, I'm sure make standardized testing harder if students aren't really even like picking up information like that. So I'm just curious, kind of like what changes do you think need to be made because of AI? What kind of role will it play in education?
Well, the ideal version of change is what I call transformative change. I just finished writing a book called Fix the Past or Invent the Future: Education in the Age of AI. The book is going to be published probably in a couple of months by ASCD. The idea is this, a lot of times when we're faced with the very powerful technology as AI, education does not change. The internet did not cause changes in education. If you look at that, but it caused massive changes in society. Automation did not cause schools to change, but it caused massive changes in society. So schools, if they want to change, the ideal version is that first of all, the curriculum needs to be redefined. Students, with AI, you do not go through math, science, reading. You don't do it that way. The subjects based may be gone, but schools have already gone through, multi subjects, cross subjects, and cross disciplinary projects. But the curriculum needs to be more personalizable, allow students to personalize because AI has elevated, our knowledge, our learning to a much higher level than we think. And number two, when you're talking about students use AI to answer questions, to write essays, to do tests, AI can do better than students in those areas. So students need to learn to think about, again, finding and solving problems using AI. So our pedagogy needs to change from teaching students something to enabling, inspiring them to make changes to our society, to other people's lives, to make our society better. And third, you were asking about teachers. I think teachers should become more human because the traditionally teachers, had to teach, had to become the human instructional machine. Now they don't need to teach. In essence, in the age of AI, all learning is personalized, all curriculum is personalized, all pedagogy is personalized. So teachers need to change their role and become human educators. And in the age of AI, we need teachers a lot more because they become human educators. They're the facilitator, they're the coach, they're the project organizer, they're the education ecosystem creator. I mean, their role has dramatically changed. However, I still do see in our schools, primarily teachers still trying to teach the same thing to all students when that's completely unnecessary. And by the way, if teachers want students to construct their own learning plan, they probably can do that.